Hi, I'm Keely, also known as Kelly.
And I'm Feely, also known as Alex,
Welcome to our corner of the Shire,
where we will show you how to bring Middle Earth
into your daily life to keep you
a happy hobbit.
Hello, our happy Hobbit viewers. This is Keely, but you probably already knew that. And I am here because I had a great idea to teach you a craft that you can hopefully do to bring to your Thanksgiving. Now, even if you're not an American, you can do this craft and bring it to any feast that your culture celebrates. And the reason I'm filming this alone right now is because you've probably noticed we've been having a lot of trouble finding the time in our schedules to film Happy Hobbit. And that's because we have to find moments when both of us have a chunk of free time, both Feely and I. And with her being in grad school, it's just made it a bit more difficult. And so I decided I'm just going to set up the camera and I'm going to do like I did in one of our very first episodes, which was our acorn episode. And I'm just going to try doing it as Keely, which feels a little bit awkward because I'm just talking to a camera, but I know that I'm actually talking to you viewers, and now I'm rambling. But I'm going to show you this idea I had because a lot of our episodes are based around baking, especially these days. And when you think of bringing something to a feast or to Thanksgiving, automatically you think, oh, I should cook something. Not all of us are great cooks. There might be something else you can contribute though. So what I'm going to show you is a craft idea of something that you could bring to your Thanksgiving or your next dwarven feast. Now, some time ago I found these coasters at the Goodwill. They're brown and they're orange and they're perfect fall colors and they're made from hemp, so they're a soft weave. And I saved them because I intended to paint decorations on them for some time, and again, as life is, we don't always have the time that we think we will. You have to make time for things like this. That's something I'm learning as I continue to grow as a dwarf, hobbit, elf. And so, as many things Happy Hobbit, I haven't done this before, but I'm going to give it my best shot and you will watch me make some mistakes and hopefully have some success, and we will see how they turn out. The idea is to paint some autumn images onto these coasters. So, here we go. Okay, I am using my dresser currently as my workspace, and I will hopefully change the angle soon here so that you can actually see what I'm doing. But as you can see right now, I've got all the coasters laid out. And of course, with any proper craft, you need to have some materials. Other than the paint and the paint brushes and the coasters, another essential is a mug of tea. This is peppermint. Of course, a candle. This one is strawberry. And I like to listen to some soothing music like Lorena McKenna or Enya, just to help me stay relaxed. Now, the first thing that I'm going to paint, I've decided, is I'm going to take the brown coasters, the darker ones, and I'm going to paint some green acorns on them. So I have like a classic example of an acorn here. And this one's obviously brown, but when I found it I think it was more green. If not, I have a good imagination. And I like this one because it looks like the acorn that Bilbo found at Beorn's house. And I'm not going to say any more about that acorn because the rest of the story about that acorn is sad. I also want to say that the chances of you being able to just go to your local Goodwill or craft store and finding a coaster just like this are probably pretty rare. But if you still want to do this craft and you have other coasters, like, well, I'm not going to do it to these because these are coasters we actually like. This is our clan in Scotland, and these are some coasters that I got in Ireland this summer. But if I didn't like these somehow, then what I would do is I would paint over them with white paint and let that dry, and then I would go ahead and paint whatever my craft was. So if you do happen to go out and you go to a craft store or a Goodwill or anything like that, and you find some coasters that you just don't really like and you want to use for this craft, then go ahead and buy them and just repurpose them. So as I've said, I haven't ever done this before, and in fact it's actually been ages since I've even painted with acrylic paints, so this will be an adventure and we'll go on it together. First off, I will point out that the brushes that I'm going to be using for this are synthetic brushes. They're not actually brushes made with hair, and that's because with acrylic paint you would damage a brush that was actually made with any form of animal hair or fiber. You want it to be a completely synthetic brush. And I have here a little palette where I'm going to be putting my paints, and just start with the smallest amount and see where you go from there. Here is my array of colors, my brand new pack of acrylics. I do tend to paint, but I usually paint with watercolors, and this is going to be a whole different method, because in watercolor I tend to use my hand as a palette, and so I'll be painting along and then I'll wipe off my brush there, leave a little pool of water there, mix it there, and well, hopefully none of that paint's toxic, because that's what I do. And I don't know if I should be doing that with this paint. So we will see, and I'm going to do my best to hold this up to the camera so that you could see my work as I go along. And time to start the adventure. You can't see my face, this is weird. But time to start the adventure. So I have the main body of the acorn painted, and I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and while I wait for that to dry, I'm going to paint some more acorns onto some other coasters, kind of like an assembly line tactic. Because then when I'm done with that, this will be more dry, and I will be able to paint the hat. Now my original acorn is fairly dry, so I'm going to paint his hat, for lack of a better term. good, it is showing up. I was worried that since it's going to be brown on brown, it wouldn't show up so well. And as you can see, there isn't necessarily much skill involved in this. It's just having fun. And using your creativity and playing around. You'd be surprised at what you can do, even if you've never taken an art class or ever painted before. And I'm going to give him a little tip on his nose, because acorns have that too. There you go. Oops. So I'm going to go ahead and give the rest of them hats and then decide what I'm going to paint next. So I painted 4 acorns on the brown coasters, and I have 4 more brown coasters left. So what I'm going to do with those ones is paint pumpkins. But since I don't have orange paint, I'm going to try to make orange paint by combining vermilion with some yellow. And let's see how that works out. That's not orange enough for my liking. I need to add some more yellow. Put a little drop in. Okay, that's bigger than a little drop, kind of like when we measure vanilla in our baking episodes. That's definitely better. And the thing is, pumpkins come in all different colors. So you can have white pumpkins, you can have orange pumpkins, you can have green and orange pumpkins, or green pumpkins. So I might just experiment with that a little bit. Let's see here, now it's time for me to paint a pumpkin. And this one I'm going to do from memory because I know pretty well what a pumpkin looks like. Here we go. I have my multicolored pumpkins here, so what I'm going to do to make them look a bit more like pumpkins rather than just strange shapes is add a stem and some vines. So to do that I'm going to go to the little dip in the top and just add basically a green rectangle. You can see that already looks like a pumpkin already. And then you could add, you know, whatever else you want as a vine. On this type of surface it's a little hard to paint because you're fighting against the actual grain of the weave, as it were. So in fact, if you were starting with a flat coaster that you just painted white and were working with, it would probably be easier to do more elaborate shapes. Hopefully that looks like a pumpkin with a cool hairdo. If you paint a red pumpkin like this, and it turns out looking more like an apple, that's okay. Apples are harvested in the fall. We can have an apple coaster. Now that I've finished painting all my brown coasters, I have 6 orange ones. And while my brown coasters dry, I'm gonna start painting these. And I think the first shape that I'm going to attempt is going to be an autumn leaf. So we'll see how that goes. Already not very well. The color I chose isn't showing up that great. So I'm gonna switch to a different color. These last 3 coasters, I'm going to do my best to paint pine cones. here are all my coasters drying. And I apologize for the poor lighting, it's gotten dark out. Leaves and pine cones, pumpkins and acorns, and as you can see, they're nothing particularly talented or fancy, just have fun with it, and however it turns out is perfectly fine. And always remember that when you're doing art. So I'm going to let these dry, and then I am going to write on the top, probably with a Sharpie pen. I now have a Sharpie pen, and I'm going to attempt to write the word thankful up here as neatly as I can, which whenever I put that pressure on myself, I always screw it up. So again, it's art. However it turns out, we'll be fine. So I think it's a bit difficult to read, and I'm having trouble figuring out how to hold this to the camera, but it says thankful for you. Here are my finished coasters. So I didn't film myself painting every single one because I thought that would get quite boring. But as you can see, I switched from Sharpie back to paint because it was actually easier with the grain of the weave of the coasters to just use paint. And they're difficult to see in this artificial lighting, so I will be sure to film them tomorrow in the daylight. Here are all of the coasters in the morning light. And what I'm about to do is spray them with a polyurethane just to help seal in the paint and protect them from any moisture they might get exposed to. I am now outside, and I have my can of Rustoleum, which is going to seal and protect my coasters, and I'm going to spray it on them. However, I'm not going to be able to film it that well because I don't want any of it to get on the camera. So I'm going to attempt to set the camera a ways away and film. We'll see how it goes. No, go. So I'm going to let those dry out here for about an hour, and I will come back and check on them. And as you saw, if you have pets, just make sure that they're away from these fumes because they're harmful to animals and humans and dwarves and elves and hobbits. Don't know about dragons. So here we are with finished coasters. An acorn, pine cone, pumpkin, and leaf. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode and that it has inspired you to try your own hand at making some crafts. And next time you get invited to a feast and you're intimidated by cooking, maybe this is something that you can bring to contribute. And plus it's an item that your friends and your family can use for years and years, and every time they will think of the fun time that they had together and the wonderful gift that you gave them. Handmade things are always better, even though, as I've shown you, they might not look like the most pristine and spectacular items such as you could buy in a store. They are still full of love and creativity, and that's what matters. And on the subject of love, I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. And even if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, just take a moment out of your day to count your blessings and to remind yourself of all that you have to be thankful for, especially your loved ones. We don't usually share personal information like this on Happy Hobbit, but just this past week we lost our wonderful Aunt Judy. Judy was, she worked with children her whole life, She was a choreographer at a children's theater, and she taught a class called Imagine Me, which encouraged children to use their creativity and their imaginations. And I am bringing these coasters to our family Thanksgiving that she always hosted, because I know that she would really appreciate the spirit behind the craft. And Judy leaves behind our cousin Gimli, who you have seen in previous episodes, and also he has a younger brother who's 15, who hasn't ever been on camera yet on Happy Hobbit, and of course her loving husband. Their family has been hit very hard financially by treating her. So in the spirit of Thanksgiving, if you have anything at all that you would be able to contribute to their family, even if it's just $1, I know that they would be so very, very thankful for that. They have a GoFundMe account for Judy, and I'm going to put the link in the credits. And I'm sorry, my voice is kind of leaving me here. This is Happy Hobbit, and we're very happy and thankful to have had our Aunt Judy in our lives, encouraging us all the time. And she was so proud of what we were able to do with this show, and loved, being able to share that her nieces were making Happy Hobbit, and she just always encouraged us and wanted to hear about our Happy Hobbit adventures. And I'm so thankful to have had her in my life, and to have my current family, both human and animal, in my life. And I just wanted to remind everyone to never take that for granted. So, from Keely and Feely. Yeah, this just got weird, as it always does when I'm alone. Want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. And on the subject of love, I want to wish all of my fellow Americans, hobbits...
Leave the camera alone, Connie. Connie, leave the camera alone. Come here.